Doing gems. Appreciate every single one of you. Let me make sure my volume is up. Volume's up. We are in here. I appreciate every single one of you. I hope everybody's doing awesome. Here for another topic. Let's have a little fun and talk about some back in the day stuff. I'm Marlene of Life with Marlene. I am your Florida vlogger. I bring vlogs of the places that I go to in Florida. And on top of that, I do travel videos. I do hotel videos, all of those things. Things, of beach, that Florida life. Yeah, I do that over here. So today, everybody, I'm going to be talking about some back in the day stuff. We all know that as we've gotten older, things have changed from when we were children to now maybe when you have kids. So I'm going to talk about some things that I have seen, just in my lifetime, even some things that maybe you did as a child, and now that you have children, what are some things that you see as different? So I'm going to start off with this one. It may not seem like that long ago, but it really is, okay? So way back when, maybe your parents or maybe even you did not know who was calling. And that's something that if you think about it, you didn't know who was calling back in the day because you did not have caller ID. Anytime you answered the phone, you had no idea who was picking up. Those of you who are old enough and you had a rotary phone, the one that you had to put your finger in and dial the buttons, or you just dialed a number, but there was no caller ID on the phones back in the day. You just picked up the phone. There was no little space that you could see like a phone number that was calling you. You just picked up the phone and hey, Nolan's girl, how are you doing? Welcome. Appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for your support. I definitely appreciate you. So here we are, okay? Nolan's girl says, I remember that old school phone. Yeah. I remember when I was a little girl, I didn't have a rotary phone like my siblings did. Hey, Wellness, how are you doing? Welcome. I didn't have a rotary phone like my siblings did, but I do remember those bigger, chunkier, heavy phones that were really heavy. And it used to only be in the living room, and you only got a little bit of room to hold the phone and maybe take a few steps in that direction or that direction. And then as I got older, the phone cord got longer and you could walk around in the living room, go in the kitchen, but that was about it. So that's one thing that I see that is different from back in the day than now. Back in the day, there was only one house phone, and it was usually either in your kitchen or in the living room, and that was it. And like I said, according to this information, back in the day, when you picked up the phone, you had to just guess. You didn't know who it was that was going to call you, whereas now how things are different with kids in this generation, they don't understand. You didn't always know who was calling, so you had to take a chance and answer the phone. Yes, Nolan's girl says, yep, I remember those phones. So here's another one. Let me go to the next one that I have. So this is something that maybe your parents or maybe you had back in the day, okay? And now kids now think that you're weird or strange, okay? So back in the day, I remember in my generation, we had paper maps, and you had to figure out your own route. You could not just wing it. You were like on a wing and a prayer. Hi, Antonio. How are you doing? Nolan's girl says you could call people on three-way too. Yeah, but I think that was a little bit later. You could start calling people on a three-way, but in the beginning, back in the day, you used to be able, you had to call people, and you could only call people from home. There was no other phone but your phone at home. Oh, watching you from Croatia. Well, welcome. So this is the next one, everybody. So what was different maybe when you were a child or maybe when your parents were a child? And that was paper maps. Did you used to remember, do you remember when Do you remember when back in the day how you used to get lost because you honestly didn't know the how long you were going to take to get somewhere? Do you guys used to get lost and go in circles round and round and round? I know I did. We used to, me and my family, I come from a really big family, and we used to get in the car, and some place that probably would have took you an hour to get to now, because now there's navigation system and now lots of different things. Now things are different. But back in the day, if you didn't know where you're going, you had to leave super early. You used to have to use a paper map, and you had to ask directions, and people did not know where they were going, and you got lost. Okay, sometimes back in the day you never got to get to a place you wanted to go to because you didn't know. You had to read a map, and then how the maps used to be outdated and you were guessing. So it says paper maps. You had to figure out your own route to where you wanted to go, and road trips seemed more of an adventure back then. And it was. Back in the day, it used to be like an adventure. Like, you used to go off on a side road, and sometimes you would find a little mom and pop shop or a little restaurant, a little things over here that if you didn't get lost, you wouldn't find those things. And I think that's what's different now versus then. Younger people don't know about the adventures that used to have, getting lost for 2 or 3 hours to be able to find maybe your favorite restaurant or your favorite place to go, or didn't know where a hotel or wherever was. It was this sense of adventure back in the day, but it wasn't fun being lost, but at the same time, it caused you to be able to spend time with each other. Here's another one that back in the day versus now. Back in the day, depended on whether it was your mom or dad or you or a family member, but back in the day, there weren't things like iPhones, and the only thing that was in my generation was a cassette or a CD player. Before that time, like my parents, they were like, there was nothing. They didn't have any of those things, because when I was younger, it was cassette, and when I was in high school, it was CD players. And now even that is gone. So it shows how after generations, things change, right? Nolens Girl says GPS gives you long directions, going places. Sometimes it does, and sometimes the maps are outdated, and that drives me absolutely crazy. It took me 2 days going somewhere on a bus and a train, trying to get somewhere and getting lost. Yeah, and sometimes you just give up and just say whatever. Me too, Nolan's Girl. I still have VHS, I have cassette, I have CDs, and my nieces and nephews are like, what is that? They don't know what in the world cassettes are. Like, so it shows like when you were younger, and I remember when I was younger, my parents had 8-track and records, and I used to be like, that's weird, that's old, you're old and stuff, and I would laugh. And then now the younger generation laughs at me because I have VHS, cassette, and CD. And they're like, you need to get rid of that. It's all about everything digital. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for the new technology. I like technology. But for me, my favorite time was when it was cassette. There was nothing like a cassette, because you could pause something right in the exact moment you want to. Even with the technology will not let you go to something at the exact like it was back in the day. It's not the same. You have to go and start the song all the way from the beginning. Yes, you remember those old school record players. And I remember the old school when you had to sit at home. Hi, Keith. You had to sit at home, and you had to wait by the radio to record either whatever your recording device. For me, it was a cassette. I had to sit and listen to what we used to call the quiet storm, and sit and wait for the music to come out and then record it. And it was so exciting when you would capture like the song that you've been listening to on the radio for weeks. So younger people will never know about those things that we have to go through like they do now. They think everything is just download, and that's, I don't know. I guess everybody has their things that they think, but I'm probably too old school now for most people. But I enjoyed listening to the radio. And do young people even listen to the radio? Like, does radio even exist? Do you remember that box they used to play songs? They used to play songs. Yeah, I remember that, Nolan's Girl. I remember when it was, they used to have even the toys with the kids and everything. The toys used to have, like, you could put in a cassette in it. I think it was Teddy Ruxpin that used to be able, and that was like exciting to be able to see your teddy bear singing. That was exciting to me. Okay, radio station. Yeah, they played too many commercials, and that used to be annoying. So I used to like when I used to have my own little cassette. Well, what they called it was a Walkman back in the day. Remember? Who's old enough to know about a Walkman? Back in the day, if you had a Walkman, you really had it going on, and it wasn't cheap like now. Like, I think a Walkman back in the day, I think when I was going to high school, to 9th grade, my dad bought me a Walkman. My dad bought me a Walkman, and all I did was play my cassettes. All I did was play my records. Yeah, it was the best time. It was so much fun back in the day. It was absolutely so much fun. And I feel sad sometimes for the younger generation, the younger people that, Keith said, I didn't see a TV until I was 10. Yeah, I think I was about the same age, maybe a little bit younger. Maybe I was 7 or 8. And I'm aging myself, but when I started watching TV, my first time I remember watching TV, it was not in color. Yeah, I'm aging myself, but that's okay. When I saw a TV the first time, it was in black and white, and it was a little tiny TV. It is probably what my parents could afford, or that's all they made. I don't know which one it was. It was based on what they had or what they could buy. I don't know how to say your name. Chekuthan. Hi, welcome. Nolan's Girl says, I remember. Okay, let's go to the next one. What is something that used to happen back in the day that can't happen now? And here's a real one. Back in the day, there was rampant sexism. Back in the day, women could not even open a bank account until they got married. I remember when my mom told me that, and I was like, wow. So girls were not allowed to have bank accounts, my mom said, in the 60s. If you weren't married, you couldn't have a bank account. For me, I was like, wow, that's very controlling. That's very male dominated. So, it shows how things have shifted from that time to right now. I do watch Indian movies and shows. I watch them on, what is that? Tubi. And I watch it on, what's the other one? Netflix. So that's something that I didn't know. My mother told me that back in the day, women could not get a checking account or a bank account until they were married. So I was like, well, what about the people who never got married and you're just a single woman? Yeah, everybody watches Tubby now, or Tubi, whatever, tomato. But That's something that I didn't know. I don't know if you guys knew that, but my mother always told me that, you know, to talk to us girls, that it shows not that things are perfect for women or anything, but back in the day, lots of rights were not there for women. You know, you couldn't have a bank account. It even took a long time for women to be able to start working. So there are a lot of changes than now. And this is another one. Even to get a driver's license back in the day, your husband had to sign for you to get your driver's license, or your father had to sign for you to get your driver's license. But it had to be a man to sign for you to get your driver's license if you were a girl. And I didn't know that. My mom told me that. When my mom got her driver's license, my dad went with her, so she was already married. But if you were younger and you were a girl, your dad had to go, or your brother, or a male. So it's kind of like they had to say it was okay. It's okay for this woman to drive, or it's okay for this woman to have a checking account. It's weird. Yeah, wow, right? Nolan's Girls, it shows like things have really changed. Not that is perfect. Yeah, do you remember that when your parents used to hide, my parents used to hide money in under the mattress and in shoe boxes, which these days that sounds really weird, but yeah, they used to hide money in shoe boxes, hide them in the closet, put money under the mattress. And that sounds like something strange and weird, because if you think about it, they had to start doing those, they had to do those things because there were certain women who, like I was saying, they couldn't get a bank account. So if you can't have a bank account, when you would have money, what are you going to do with your money? You would just keep it at home. Yes, you remember the shoe boxes and under the mattress? Yes, my granny hid her money in all secret. Yeah, you all know where grandma or your mama used to hide money. Stuff it in her blouse, stuff it in her bra. I know I'm not the only one. Okay, let's go to the next one. What is different now than back then? Yeah, it wasn't until, did you guys know this fact? It wasn't until the 60s that they had regulations on your animals. Back in the day, they used to just have where your animals could just go and use the bathroom everywhere. It wasn't until 1967 where there was a law that came out that said that people had to clean up after their pets, whether it was at their home, or, you know, people would just let the dogs go and use the bathroom everywhere. And a law was passed in the 60s that said if you have a pet, you have to clean up after your pet. Nola's Girl says now they have a safe to put your money inside. Yeah, now there's a safe. Now you can go to the bank. There's security deposit boxes. There's a lot more options now for women. Let me start a poll. Hold on a second, guys. I'm almost finished with this poll. Okay. Let me put this. It's not very friendly to do the poll thing. It's not very user friendly. I will say that, YouTube. Okay. So let me start the poll. D-Town Queen B says, thank God they created that law, even though we still have people that do not clean up behind their pets. Yeah, I think it's ridiculous too. Nola's Girl says, I like having a kitten or a cat so that they can just potty in the litter box. Yeah, that's way, 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 way more convenient. So take the poll, everybody. I'll see what you guys say. I'll check in on a little bit. So let me go to the next one. Number 5, back in the day versus today. Back in the day, children were utterly unsupervised. We were as tiny children. We were tiny adults. We used to have to take care of our brothers and sisters. We used to have to work when we were younger. There were not any laws or regulations. You could work anytime. Lots of things were different back in the day. Back in the day, parents used to leave us in the car for hours. They would, there was no drinks or nothing. You were left in a hot car. And back in the day, remember, there was no air conditioning or nothing like that. So as the laws came out, things came out, of course, we have AC, and still, even with AC and running a car on cool, you still cannot leave a child in a car with the AC on. Even with that, they say that's against the law, and people still do it today, even though it's against the law, because they think, oh, I'll be right back. And we've seen it all. And who remembers how back in the day, I know I'm not the only one, back in the day, I used to, back in the day, I used to be babysat by my 7 and 8-year-old brother or sister. Who used to get that too? Back in the day versus today. Now they would say, oh, that's abuse, and you abandon your kids, and parents shouldn't do things like that or whatever. But that's how it was back in the day. When you were old enough, like especially by the time you got to be 10 years old, when you were 10, you were watching your brothers and your sisters. You had to walk home by yourself, even sometimes cook your own dinner. Things were different back in the day. Now they have laws saying that kids underneath the age of this and this can't do certain things. Now you can get a job when you're 14 according to the law, and they say under that is abuse. Whereas back in the day, you could work anytime you wanted to. When I was younger, I had a paper route. I used to go and get groceries for older people. I used to hustle. Nowadays, it's like kids, even when they turn 14, they don't want to get a job. We used to have a key around our neck to let ourselves in the house while our parents were away. Now, that's a true statement right there. That shows how things are different. Now, a kid can't be left like that. They say that's abuse, but that's how it was back in the day. Parents had bills, and you had to be responsible. And who used to get the talk? While I'm at work, don't cook nothing. Don't burn nothing down. Don't have nobody in my house. You just come in, you do your work, or you go to sleep. Do not turn on that TV. Now, what kid did not turn on the TV? If you're by yourself, you're going to watch TV. But that's how it was back in the day. Nolan's girl says, now kids be watching or having kids. Yeah, the opposite. Instead of watching kids and being a babysitter and getting some money, they're doing the actual things. Uh-oh, here is a big one, everybody. Who's ready for this? This one is good. Who remembers how back in the day you had to look in the yellow pages? Oh, I was like, this is making me feel old. But back in the day, we used to have to look in the yellow pages for phone numbers and look in the directory. Or if that didn't work and you couldn't find it in the yellow pages, who remembers you used to have to call the operator and ask for a phone number? Does that even exist anymore, where you have to call an operator? I don't even know. I think those jobs have been done with. But back in the day, you had to look in the yellow pages, and it was this big, heavy book that they would throw in front of your house every January. Hey, Realist, how are you doing? Yes, the yellow pages, and everybody's number was in it, and that was not a good thing. Everybody's number was in the yellow pages. You used to be able to look up everybody and call people. Now, I will not confirm or deny. I will confirm. You didn't hear it from me. I used to like to prank call people. Who used to do that when they were younger? When your mama was at work or your daddy was at work and your brothers and sisters was watching you, call the doctor's office, harass people, and then hang up, or call people and then laugh. Hey, Sugar Love, how are you doing, sis? Welcome in. Yes, me. Oh, that was you and your cousin. Back in the day, I used to prank call people. Sometimes I know this is not good, but I would call people and say all kinds of stuff like, um, your cousin passed away. Me and my brothers, it was a mess. We would call and prank call people, or we would just call people and don't say anything. And you would be breathing on the phone, and they would be like, hello, hello, and you would be laughing. Back in the day stuff, I think back in the day is the best. Really says, I remember running my mom's bill up after I called. Ooh, you called hotline. You called that hotline bling, realist? Wow. Okay. Here's another one. Uh, let's see. Back in the day, you used to be able to smoke in the hospitals, in the airplanes, and in restaurants. Even sometimes you were able to smoke in church, and lots of places. Like, smoking was everywhere until they banned that and said you cannot smoke in hotels, you can't smoke in hospitals, airplanes, nowhere. Now it was like everything is non-smoking. But I remember back in the day going places and you can't even breathe as a child because everybody was smoking. And I remember going to restaurants when I was a kid, and it used to be smoking. Do you want smoking or non-smoking? And the smokers would be right across from you, and you'd be like, yeah, that's weird. Oh, really? Tell us how that was when I want to know how your mom was looking when she opened up that phone bill. Who else? What I used to hate when I was younger, I hated that I would be calling my friends or calling people, and my mom, when they got the phone bill back in the day, they used to get every number you called. And remember, it's not like now, but back in the day, you used to get charged by the minute. Ugh. I hated that. So when I would call my friend, I had to hurry up. I would look at the phone like, you had to think things. You had to be like an author or something in a book. Like, okay, what do I want to talk about? What do I want to talk about? And then when you call, you knew you only had 1 minute to get out everything you wanted to say. Oh yeah, and I told my mom and this person, this person. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Oh, it's 58 seconds. I gotta go by, and you would hang up, and then they could call you back and talk for another minute. It used to be a mess back in the day, but I'm telling you, if you would make a phone call and it went 1 minute and 1 second and your parent had to pay for 2 minutes, your hide was going to be on fire. Nolan's girl says, my mom was mad when she got a bill for the box. Listen, ooh, yes, listening to music. Ooh, who remembers who remembers back in the day how you used to there was, way before MTV, and I know I'm aging myself, okay, and it's all right, but back in the day before MTV, there was this one show. I don't remember what show it was, but you used to have to call and pay whatever it was, like 49 cents or whatever it was, and they would play a music video. And I remember me and my brother and sisters, we were calling, and I think that's when, what song just had came out and we were obsessed with it. I think it was MC Hammer. I think it was You Can't Touch This. And me and my brothers and sisters, we were in the living room, and we used to be in there, and we were calling, like, I don't even know how many times, and then it would come up on the TV like, thank you for, and I guess your phone number would come up. It was there was no privacy. It showed your phone number, who paid for that video to be played. I don't know. It was crazy. On my way, one-way phone lines, and mom was on the phone all day. Oh, it was terrible. And me having so many Me having so many brothers and sisters, it was irritating that there was only one house phone. You think I'm the 10th child, and I gotta wait for all my brothers and sisters plus my parents to make a phone call. And I remember waiting one time like 4 or 5 hours to make a phone call. When my brother finally hung up the phone and I was about to reach for it, my mom said, "What you think you doing? You ain't gonna be on the phone. It's late. Go to bed." It was exhausting to be a kid back in the day. Oh, it was the box? Oh, okay. So that's what we're talking about. So it was the box. I didn't know what it was called. Realists, let's talk about a different time. Yeah. It was terrible. I hated having one house phone. And what I didn't like is if there was a house phone, there was only one line. And if you had a nosy brother or sister, or your parent was nosy, if you were on the phone talking, they could pick up a phone if you had a phone in another room, and they would be listening to your conversation. So you didn't even get privacy as a kid. I didn't even know that, because I used to be talking about all this stupid stuff and all the people I liked and the people I didn't like. And I didn't even know my mama was in there listening to all my conversation. No privacy. No privacy. You used to hide the phone under the pillow. Oh, that didn't work for me. I tried one time to be slick. You know how you had to have, you know how the phone calls used to be more expensive after 8 p.m.? And I was trying to be slick. And I went and I snuck into the little closet. You know back in the day how you used to have your coats in a little closet from when you came in the door. So I hid in there, and I was making a phone call. And when I opened the door and my mom was standing there, whew, you just wanted to die. There was no privacy. You couldn't do anything right. You were always in trouble. I stayed on punishment. I would just get off one punishment, and before that punishment was over, I'd be on another one. I used to just be like, tell my friends, I'll see you guys in a year, because I wasn't going to stop being bad. You used to sneak on the phone after 11. Whoa, Queen Bee. No, I wasn't. I just would pass it. Like, I would wait until my mom and dad went to bed. And then as soon as they would close the door, I would sneak back out and try to make a phone call to my friend or something. But my mama must have heard me sneak into the little hallway closet. Let's go to the poll and see what you guys said. Is old school better or new school? 77% said old school. 23% said new school. Don't get me wrong, y'all. Don't get me wrong. I do like some new school things, but for the majority of things were just made better. I have to say that. Back in the day, I remember having sweaters and dresses and even things my mom had. The quality of clothing was way better. The clothing now, it's not about nothing. You wear something for a few months and it got a hole in it. Hey, Glenda, how are you doing? Good morning. Good morning to all of my international friends in the Philippines. D-Town Queen Bee. I cannot stand this new music. I know a lot of people feel that way. Yes, things were made stronger back in the day. The shoes were better. For me, the shoes and the music was better. That's my opinion. I know it's not everybody's. Okay, here's another one. So the last one I did is smoking in airplanes and hospitals. To me, that sounds crazy. Like smoking, that's weird. Smoking in the hospital where people are going to get healthy. People say, according to this quote, it says, I smoked at my desk at work until the early 90s. And there was a smoking section in my high school. I remember a girl who I had a massive crush on coming back from the smoking area and thinks, she smokes, she's so tough. So back in the day, they used to have a smoking section at school. That's before my time. I didn't get that. Yeah, I think the music was better. Hey, Tamika, how are you doing? Welcome. If you guys could hit the like, I'd really appreciate it. Okay, here's another one, everybody. What was different when you were younger, or your parents, okay, when talking on the phone, you had to stay within the 6 circle. Oh yeah, remember that? Remember the phones that used to be the rotary? Yeah, you had to stay in the 6. If you went outside of the 6, oh, I used to be mad when you used to have the, what is it called, rotary phone, and if you messed up and you didn't dial the right number, you had to hang up the phone and start all over again. That was another one. That was a big deal. Okay, here's another one. Let's see what we got here. Oh, always carrying dimes, later quarters when when you went out because you had to use a payphone. Who used to go to the payphone? I remember. And it was and it was not like now. We didn't know these things, like people weren't hygienic. We didn't have like cleaning wipes or anything like that. I remember being a little kid and going to the payphones, and I used to love to drop my quarter in there and make a phone call to people. I didn't even have anybody to call, but I used to always beg my dad when we were out if I could get a quarter to call somebody, just to be able to have somebody to call. And now I don't think anywhere in my area, I don't think there's anywhere in my area that they still have payphones. I think those things have all been taken out. So if you got to use a payphone back in the day, you really have it good. There's no payphones now. If you guys have payphones, let me know in the comment section. Here's another one. Things that were different back in the day versus now. Okay, arriving at the airport shortly before takeoff, checking your luggage with minimal to no hassle, and boarding your flight. Who used to do that? I remember even the process of traveling back in the day was different. I remember you could get on the plane. You didn't have to be at the airport an hour, 2 hours before. You could be there maybe 5 minutes before takeoff. And when you got there, I remember being a little kid and going to the airport with my parents and my aunt and uncle. They would come back and forth from Jamaica and the UK. And I remember putting a quarter into a machine to watch TV. I vividly had that remember that I put a quarter in so I could watch TV for, I don't know how long it was, but things were different. Yeah, they had it until quarantine. Yeah, they got rid of everything when it was quarantine. I think they removed the pay phones, and no, they removed the mailboxes when it was, what is that thing called? There was something where people were putting powder. I can't think of what that thing was called. Was that anthrax? I don't know. It was something where they took out all the mailboxes, so many places, and you had to go like so far. Now we have to go so far to find a mailbox outside of our home, whereas before there used to be mailboxes everywhere, and now they removed them. Even these days, I don't even see like a newspaper place. That's another thing that's old school. That's the thing that's old school now. If you could find a newspaper stand back in the day, that's the only way. That's how you got the Sunday, the coupons, the Sunday cartoons. That's how you got to look at the classifieds if you were looking for a job. Things were just different back in the day. Now you don't need any of those things. You can go to websites, and you don't need those things. Yeah, they have newspapers here still, but it's different. I think now they only do, in my area of Florida, they only have, the newspaper only comes out on Wednesday and on Sunday, and that's it. They only do the newspaper twice a week because most people are looking at the news online. Yeah, and I remember when a newspaper used to be a quarter, and on Sunday, I think the newspaper was 50 cents. What are you trying to say, D-Town Queen Bee? Older people still like to read the newspaper. Well, I guess I'm old because I still like to read the newspaper. I still get the newspaper every Wednesday and Sunday. Nolan's girl says you have to pay for the newspaper. Yeah, we pay for it too. Okay, here's another one. So who used to be able to see, be able to go to the airport 15, 20 minutes before it took off and you could get on. There wasn't all of these security checks. No, actually, nobody checked you. They didn't check you like if you had a weapon, nothing. There wasn't anything like regulations about shampoo and this. You could take anything onto a plane. And remember back in the day how when you got on a plane, you got fed, you would get your dinner or you would get your breakfast. I remember those times. Now, you're lucky if you get a soda. Sometimes if you fly, if the flight is short, like 45 minutes or so, you get nothing. They don't even give you water. So times definitely have changed. Oh yeah, and this is another thing at the airport. Remember when your friends or your family could go right to the gate with you? I remember being a little girl, and I remember when my uncle and my aunt was going back to the UK, and I remember going right to the tarmac, right on the runway. You got to walk with them right up until they started going up the stairs to the plane. Yeah, I know I'm old. It's all good. But I remember that. I remember, and you saw them going up on the plane, and you just stayed there until the plane took off. Nobody told you had to leave or nothing. You stayed there and you waited. And when your family would come, they didn't tell you you couldn't. You used to go right on the runway. When you would know they would land, you would just go and go out the door and be right there on the runway. Of course, it would be like, roped off, and you would just wait there. Yeah, they check for everything now. Okay, here's another one. Back in the day, job listings were by gender. I didn't think about that. But I guess that's true because my mom used to say certain things back in the day in the 60s and stuff. It used to be that women couldn't get jobs until a certain period of time. I don't remember when that was, but women couldn't get a job until a certain time. Women couldn't get a driver's license. There's a lot of rights that women didn't have. So I especially would think that this would be true about job listings. And it would say, we need a man for this, or it would say we need a woman for other things. And usually the jobs for women, my mom said it was always women's stuff, like, or housekeeping stuff, like looking for a housekeeper or a nanny, a teacher or a nurse. My mom said it was usually only 4 jobs for women and all the other jobs were for men. Now it doesn't matter who it is. It's equal. Anybody can do any job now. Who used to do this back in the day versus now? When you turned 13, it was assumed by the entire neighborhood that you would babysit. It was common for people to have 2 or 3 kids under the age of 7 for hours at a time. This was considered normal, and for all your friends, when they found out you turned 13, they thought you were basically an adult, which you were. Because back in the day, by the time you were 18, you were already out of high school. So, you're 13, you're almost, because most of us, when you were 14, you started your first job. So if you were 13, that was the summer before you would start high school. So they figured you're practically an adult. Whereas now you can't do nothing these days. Like even 14, they limit stuff. I babysit one girl back then for $25 a week. That was some good money. You got some good money, Queen Bee. I used to get like quarters or dollars. I was getting ripped off. Okay, here's another one that shows how things are different. Back in the day, you used to get the milk, the eggs, the cheese, and other dairy items delivered to your house every week. You remember in the glass jars that used to be delivered in front of your house? I think maybe that's an up north thing, but back in the day, you used to have, and it used to come in a little box, and it would be the cheese would be wrapped up, the eggs would be in a little carton, and the milk used to be in a crate, and the milk was in little glass, I guess the size of a quart now. the milk used to come like that, and it was come every week, and it was returnable. And what you were supposed to do is when the milk was finished, you used to rinse it out with water, turn it down, and let it dry out, and then put it back in the container. So when they would come, they would pick up your old jars and bring you some new ones. Yeah, they start jobs as teenagers. Yes, ever fresh. Juice, milk, diet. Oh yeah, I forgot. There was diapers. Remember that? To me, that's something that I would like to forget. But back in the day, there was not disposable diapers. I don't agree with that. Back in the day, if you were a mom, or even like my siblings used to say when I was a little girl, I was not in disposable diapers yet. And they used to use just cloth. And for me, that's weird, but that's what it was. They didn't have those things. One thing that I miss about back in the day, I remember when it used to be the little corner stores, and it was the little mom and pop places, and you used to run after school and go in there, and you could put in your money, and you could go in there and get, like, it was the pharmacy basically, and at the pharmacy you could go get a soda. What else? You could get soda, you could get ice cream, and you could get candy. And also, like, if your mom wanted something from the pharmacy, you could get that too. But that's how it was back in the day. Now, the pharmacy, when people talk about going to the pharmacy, it truly is. You're just getting pharmacy items, or like you'll get, your makeup, but there's no, like, what is it called? Like a little, basically, back in the day, the pharmacy used to be like Dairy Queen. They used to have, like, you could sit on a little stool, and you could hang out with your friends, listen to music. And I believe, if I have it right, I believe I used to put a quarter in, or if it was a dime. I don't remember. My mind is foggy. I don't know if it was a dime or a quarter. And it used to play some records, the 45s. It used to play some 45s, and you could listen to some music, and you could get a milkshake back in the day. Yeah, and $1 went a long way. I remember getting $1, and it lasted me all week. It was like, $10 to play some music. I remember it was probably 25 cents for your milkshake. You used to get candy was a penny. So I remember when me and my brothers, it was 10 of us, and my dad used to give 50 cents. So that was for the week. And everybody, we all got candy. We all got to get sodas and milkshakes and everything. 50 cents went a long way. Oh, I remember when the movies actually used to be $1, Queen Bee. I remember when the movies were $1. I do remember that. And I actually remember back in the day when it used to be drive-in movies. Who remembers that? I don't think we would ever went to movies if it wasn't for the drive-in movies when we were younger, because there was too many of us. I remember my dad used to take us in the big, what is it, those really big vans, and we would all be in there. My mom would make dinner. We would have the Sunday dinner, and then we would go to see the movies at the drive-in. And they only charged you by the car. It wasn't per person. It's probably something like $2 or $3 for the whole car. Those were the good times. They still have drive-in movies in Detroit. Awesome. Yeah. It was still $1 until quarantine. Wow. Here, I think they have $5, and they will play the old movies. Like, they have like classic movie days where you could watch black and white movies. They have times where you could go and watch like a marathon of cartoons. So I think that that's cool that they're doing that now, because people really aren't going to the movies and doing the old school things. People rather download or look on, all of the apps. So they're trying to make their money. Oh, you're not sure if the drive-in is still around? Oh, okay. Okay, here's another one, everybody. Let me pull this up. Oh, back in the day, here is the one. Who remembers that? Back in the day, your mother used to send you to the store to get alcoholic items. And I thought about that, and I was like, yes, my mother did. She would write a note to the person in the store to whatever it is that they wanted, whether it was cigarettes, whether it was alcohol. I remember that. My mom used to be like, give my daughter scotch or vodka or rum or whatever it is, and you had a note from your mother or father. And I used to say to myself, like when I got older, I was like, what if a kid was scheming and wrote it and forged that note? I was like, wait a minute. And all of us kids, we all used to have it. My friends, we all used to be in there, and everybody was giving the guy behind the counter a note. Yes, and play her lottery numbers. I know that's right. Yes, Queen Bee, that's how it was. Okay, here's another one. Back in the day, girls couldn't wear pants in school. You had to, as a girl, only wear dresses and shorts. There was absolutely no pants for girls. Pants were only for boys. I was like, I didn't grow up in that one, but this is what they said. This was way back. Girls couldn't wear pants inside. They had to wear dresses, pantsuits, jumpsuits, things like that, but not regular pants, like how girls wear jeans now. That would never happen. It wasn't allowed. Thank you so much, Glenda. Yeah, I used to and still do get my mom's cigarettes and lottery tickets. Oh, awesome. And girls were not allowed to wear red nail polish either. That was a big one. That was a no-no. And that used to drive me crazy when I was younger. I used to be like, oh my God, I want to wear red nail polish. Wearing red nail polish, wearing lipstick, wearing mascara. And I remember when all of that came out, all the girls were wearing the same hairstyle. What is it called? The feathery hair. What was her name? Farrah Fawcett. Everybody had their hair feathered. Hey Shay, how are you doing? Welcome. Everybody had their hair feathered in the 80s, and in I think it was 1993. I think it was 93. In 1993, everybody, white, every race had their hair in that Halle Berry haircut. Everybody did it. It was either the Halle Berry cut or the Toni Braxton. All girls did it. You weren't cool if you didn't do that in 1993. Okay, here is another one that happened back then that does not happen now. Back in the day, there was elevator attendants. And I know because my mother was one in New York. And I still have my mom's little card pass that my mom was an elevator operator, 1964 in New York. That's what you used to ride the elevator all day. And my mom used to have like a, what you call it, a hotel thing, with the patches on it, and you wore the little scarf on your neck. You had your name badge, you wear a little hat, and you had to wear gloves. Back in the day, gloves were the order of the day. You weren't a lady if you didn't have gloves. And I have a picture of my mom when she was an elevator attendant in New York, 1964 or 1965. I don't remember, but it was about that time. So, yeah, and you had to get in. You didn't back in the day. Nobody touched the elevator. It was only the elevator attendants. Of course, because you only were going to go to a classy hotel. So they had to have somebody in there operating the elevator. It's not like now where, you press your own buttons. But back in the day, that's how it was. And my mom used to say all day long, you say, what floor please? What floor please? All day long. Hey Gwen, how are you doing? Welcome. Yeah, my mom, I can't think of what the store is. I have to go and look at my mom's tag because I still kept it. Yep, they take you up to the penthouse. Yep. My mom used to have to. Yeah, some places they still have elevator attendants at the fancy hotels. But I mean, back in the day, any hotel you went to, it was operated by an elevator operator. Yep. Here is another one, everybody. Back in the day, photos were expensive, even rare. And people took time to see how they turned out. They took pictures. You dropped off your film. Remember the 35mm film? And you used to take all these with the wind-up cameras, with the film that you had to pull out and stick it in there just right. And if you didn't, the film wouldn't advance forward. Oh, I hated that because I used to try to fix it, and you had to fix it just right or it wouldn't work. And you used to have to wait 3 or 4 days. And guess what? After waiting 3 or 4 days, you didn't like any of the pictures. They were all ugly. You know how many times you took pictures and they were like terrible? Out of that, maybe two pictures came out nice. Yes, a roll of film. You remember photo films? Who remembers back in the day going and dressing up for special occasions, like once a year for the family photo? You used to have to go to the department stores at the mall or somewhere and take a family photo because nobody had cameras. Everybody, you got dressed up as a family and you went and took a group photo, or you got your photos in your first from school. But I don't think it was until the late 80s to the early 90s before people started to buy cameras. But before then, most people didn't have a camera. You used to have to go to like whatever your drugstore and develop the 35mm camera, or you used to have to go to like your department stores like Sears or Penny's, places like that. You remember the group photos? Yeah, I still have some. Okay. You had a Polaroid? Yeah, I remember. I remember my sister had Polaroid. I remember I messed with it one day and jammed one of the things in there and I got torn up. I still remember that. Okay, here's another one. Putting your oldest child on the floorboards of your car because there were no car seats. Think about it, everybody. Back in the day, there were no car seats. I forgot about that. Back in the day, there were no car seats. If you had a baby, you would have somebody hold the baby. Or whatever. I remember being in my dad's van and everybody is sliding to this way and that way. There was, and there were no seat belts, because if you had a what do you call it? Forget those cars that had the long seat and everybody just slid in there, but there were no seat belts either. Everybody was just on a wing and a prayer. Okay, here's another one. There was no air conditioning. Oh, there was no air conditioning back in the day. Who remembers that? That there was absolutely no air conditioning. I hated that. It was so hot. I remember going when back in the day, everybody, it didn't matter who you were, sick, lame, and lazy, you went to church on Sunday. Whether you believed or you didn't believe, everybody was going to church on Sunday. And I remember going home after church and all the places were closed because everything closed on Sunday before 5 o'clock. It did not matter because people were going to church. But now nothing closes on Sunday. And that makes me sad because most of the time people That means people aren't spending time, whatever, doing whatever they believe, or also getting together with their family. Because back in the day, I don't know about you all, uh, back and forth, Gwen, back and forth. Oh, I don't like being hot. I can't stand it. I need the air conditioner and I need the fan, or I need both. And also, there wasn't heat either. There was no heaters. You just used to have a blanket. And when we got fancy, I remember when my mom got fancy and we got, what is it called? A heating pad. And that was it. It would be me and all my sisters, and we slept in one bed, and my mama had a heating pad, and we all huddled together in that bed. And thank you, Surafel. How are you doing? Thank you so much. And that's how it was back in the day. Do you guys remember that? How things were back in the day versus how they are right now? Aren't things so different? Things are so different now than they were way back then. It doesn't even seem like that long, but it is. Like even simple things, when I think about what makes me really sad. Who is on the image behind me? Oh, up there? That's my grandma. That's my grandma. That's my dad's mother. That's my Grandma Jane. Yep. Grandma Jane. I have her right above me because she's always watching over me. Yes. Oh, you were the youngest. See, and people say when you're the youngest, you were spoiled. I was the youngest. I was not spoiled. I was babysitting. I was cleaning. I was cooking. I was taking care of everybody's business. I was making phone calls. I was on the go. I didn't get spoiled. I don't know. I guess Caribbean parents, they don't allow you to be, you're a granny baby? Yes. Nothing's like grandma or grandpa, depending on how your relationship was. But nothing is like your grandparent. Okay, here's another one, guys. Things that are different then versus now. Remember how back in the day when there used to be customer service, and I don't mean bad customer service like people have now. I mean good customer service. People would say, hi, good morning, how are you doing? You know, things like that. Now you go to a place and they just look at you like, what? What do you want? Whereas back in the day, they would call you by they would find out your name. They wanted to see your ID. Hi, Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so. How can I help you today? How can I assist you? Are you having a good day? Like, I mean, I remember those things when you would go in the store. And even things simple now. I remember growing up on Sunday, it didn't matter what you came from. It didn't matter what you believed. Everybody on a Sunday, you were dressed in your best. You put on your best clothes on Sunday. There was no jeans. There was no jeans. You took pride. The girls had on their best dresses or your best outfit, whatever that was. You just looked really good on Sunday. But now, people are in shorts. I just feel like society has declined, and not in a good way. There are some things that I do like now, you know, the new school things. Like, I do appreciate technology. I like that I don't have to get up and go in person and pay a bill. That's a benefit. But there's certain things that I don't like. Like now you go to a restaurant and you order food and the food is garbage. I don't know. I think maybe because I was introduced to such good food, having Caribbean parents. Back in the day here in the South, you used to go to a restaurant and the food used to be phenomenal. Now, I don't know what they're passing off. It's like the food is old or it's not good. And on top of it, it's expensive. Have you guys seen how expensive the food is in the restaurants? And even now, the food in fast food. I don't even know. Like last time I got fast food, I was like, nah. I said, I think I'm going to stop doing fast food. I think I'm done with fast food. I'm at that age now. I'm like, yep, I think it's going to be that age. Because I remember when my mom did that. I think everybody, when they get to be a certain age, whatever age that is, that you're like, nope, I'm just going to cook at home from now on. And you just go by your siblings or your friends' houses, and that's it. Your food looks good on your videos, Marlene. Thank you. Oh, that last one when I went to Fajita, that because that's a Caribbean place. So I'm finding, I don't know. I said to my friends, I said, I think I'm old now, because now I only go places that is home cooked food or is my culture food. I'm not interested. I don't bring no McDonald's. Don't bring that near me. The only fast food I will eat is Chick-fil-A. That's it. The rest of it, I don't want it. So call me old-fashioned. How was the food taste at Golden Corral? It was delicious, Nolan's girl. It was really delicious. I enjoyed it because when there are places like that, they make it like it's southern food. So, southern food, fried chicken, greens, macaroni and cheese, cornbread, things like that. But I more prefer on my day-to-day basis, I prefer to eat my culture food, which is Caribbean food. And I go between Mexican because my mom had friends. That's just how I grew up. We grew up having friends that were Mexicans. We had friends that were from Trinidad. We had friends that were, of course, Jamaican. And then we had, our Latina friends or people who are like from Guyana or places like that. So, oh, you miss Golden Corral? Yeah, you should. You should. Yeah, color greens. Things were different back in the day. And I feel sad now. I really, really feel sad for younger people because now younger people, they don't know how to cook. They don't know how to do so many things. And I'm not saying it to make fun, but I'm seeing it because I see it's on a regular basis. Like the children now are not raised to know how to cook, how to clean, how to keep a home. They don't know any of those things. They don't take pride in where they live. The place is dirty, and you can't always blame it on the parents because some children just don't want to clean. Some kids just don't want to cook. They'd rather eat out all the time. So it's not always the parents, but I've seen a lot of kids now, all they do is order DoorDash, Instacart, all of the apps. And when you ask them about what they're going to cook, they say, I don't cook. There's even some young people there, if they have a home, they gut their kitchen because they don't cook. Or they say, all I need is a fridge and a microwave. Ugh, that hurt. That would break my mother's heart. They don't use a stove. Ooh. My mom is a great cook. She even cooks for the church. Oh, that's awesome, Nolan's girl. Yeah, when my mother was alive and my aunts and my mom's friends, which were like my aunties, and they used to on Sunday, my mom would cook, of course, her Jamaican culture food, which is a curry chicken, jerk pork, plantains, rice and peas festival, and cornbread. And then her friends would make like some other sides, whatever that was, like a salad, a pie during, different seasons, like a black cake and different things. Now look, girl says she cooks gumbo and jambalaya. Oh, you're from New Orleans. Oh, Nolans. Okay. My oldest daughter orders DoorDash 4 to 5 times a week. I don't know how you guys can afford it. I honestly, I don't know how you guys can afford it. And my whole thing about the younger generation that makes me sad is they don't think anything's wrong with that. For me, I don't mind to have, okay, if I got to have DoorDash a sandwich or DoorDash this, but I know for sure my dinner better be, a home-cooked meal. I know that for sure. I I could eat out breakfast and lunch, but I like a homemade dinner. I don't know. I just was raised that way. Well, then that's different. If she's a single person, you could eat out all the time. Things are different when you don't have a family or responsibilities. But for me, I like my own cooking. I like my own food. I like to have my own culture food. And they make everything so expensive. Have you ever seen like just a little simple thing like just getting probably just some chicken wings? That's it. Like nothing with it. Just some chicken wings is like $9 for 5 chicken wings. And I'm like, that's crazy. But when you could go in the store and probably get a pack of chicken and for maybe $5 or $6, and you can eat for the next 3 days off that chicken. I don't know. I guess I'm different. We weren't raised that way because we came from a really big family, and just didn't do that. For number one, we couldn't afford it, and number two, it's just not healthy. Yes, a home cooked meal tastes better and it is healthier. It tastes better, it's healthier, and it's less expensive. You're able to save money for other things. So, it's all of that too. So what are some of the things that you guys did back in the day that you think is different now? If there's anything that I missed, we talked about the cameras. Oh, here's one. Back in the day, we used to play board games. I remember playing Monopoly. We used to play cards like War. I declare war. Yeah, the fast food is so salty, and all it is it's fried, and it's either fried, so it's high cholesterol, or it's loads of salt. And if I go and I get fast food, I always tell them I want my fries without salt. And if I know you guys are going to say this is weird, but when I go and I get a hamburger, I ask them to only put the meat and the cheese and the bacon, and that's it. And I just eat it like that. I'm not a bread person like that. Nolan's girl says even the younger generation is getting high blood pressure these days. Yes. And one of them is because I have friends that are in the medical field. I'm also in the medical field, and high blood pressure comes from, number one, lack of exercise, number two, too much salt, and number three, not drinking water. So, if you eat that way, at least drink water. Younger people today, they don't drink water. Everything is soda and juice. So it's going to be high blood pressure, diabetes, and if you look around, if you go places, everything is dialysis. And dialysis is linked to not drinking water. So whoever needs to hear that, drink some water. Drink some water, pure water, okay? That's all I drink. I know I get off track sometimes, and I get into eating the junk, the cookies, especially when we go through holidays. You're going to be eating cookies and junk food. But the rest of the time, try to have a salad sometimes, everybody. Have a salad. Have some water. No juice, no soda, none of that. So, yeah. I think, oh, you're addicted to junk food? Oh, no, Nolan's girl. You gotta cut back on that. You have to, so that you can still be around. We want you to be around. So I think Realist One here is going live at 5, and I want you guys to go over there. Even if you just go over there and you go and like his upcoming premiere. I'm gonna put a link in there. Let's see. Let me see if I can find his channel. Okay, here's his channel. And let's see, he has a live here. uh, home. I don't know. Did he delete it? I don't know. It's gone. Maybe he changed his mind. Maybe he's not going to do it. I saw that earlier today. That's why I was like, I'm going to go live earlier, and then we'll go over to my brother realist one. Hey, 755 Media. How are you doing? Welcome. How are you doing? You love fruits and vegetables? So, you know, honestly, I had to learn. I had to learn to like fruits and vegetables. You guys will think I'm strange, but I grew up my whole life only eating chicken and rice and peas. I'm just Caribbean. That's what we eat. So I had to learn to not drink soda all the time. I had to learn to not have juice all the time. And I had to learn to start drinking water, eating vegetables. Most Caribbean people don't eat vegetables, and that's not good. So I had to learn as I got older to develop some better habits. You pushed it back a little later? Oh, okay. Okay. But still, realist, put a link to your live so that we can, I want to send everybody over there. Even go over there and hit the like. Can you guys please do that for realist one? So realist, drop a link to your live stream. Yeah. How you doing, 755 Media? What's going on with you? Have you ever watched Strange Addiction on TLC? When grown people, it's hard to even. I was that way. I used to have to, when I first started eating broccoli, I would start to eat it and I would gag. I know that sounds bad. I know it's terrible. Or if I would start to eat something, like even eating fruit for me in the beginning was weird, because we eat fruit, but like tropical fruit, we would eat like mangoes and stuff. Mangoes and coconut and things like that, but we didn't eat like other foods, like fruits, like other stuff. Well, we didn't in our household. I think it's based on where you came from. Yeah, it's the Learning Channel. Thank you, 7555 Media. How are you doing? How's your family? And everybody in here, how is your family? I hope everybody's family is well. Hope everybody's doing all right. So that's something that I was thinking about the past. Some things are good about back in the day, but some things I don't think was good. It just was not good. And I think one of them that I will always go back to, that I will not recant my statement no matter what. And that is that back in the day, I did not like how parents or adults would tell children stuff and they would never have conversations, talk to them about things. Like they didn't inform them on stuff. They didn't train them on certain things. Oh no, I hope you feel better, 755. I didn't like that. Back in the day, it used to annoy me when your parent or an adult told you something and they didn't tell you why. I'm different that way with my family and with my own. I don't play about those things. You don't just tell a kid no, you tell them why. I don't want you to do this because this is the consequences. This or this or this can happen to you. I want you to be protected. See, back in the day, adults used to think if I tell you something, then you'll go forward to the danger. But when we don't talk about it, like people did back in the day, didn't talk about stuff, things used to happen to kids back in the day, which I don't like. There was a lot of neglect. There was a lot of abuse. There was a lot of perversion. And it happened, and the kids were scared. I know things I saw when I was growing up, perverted things, and lots of people had a cousin or an uncle, an auntie that was very sketchy or weird, and the family would just act like it was normal, and I don't like that. So there's certain things I don't play about. You know, I tell kids, I tell people within my family. If somebody is weird, I don't care if it's your uncle, it's your auntie, your grandparent, I don't care who it is. Anybody who's sketchy and weird and making kids feel uncomfortable or older people feel uncomfortable, just a creep or a perv at all, you got to go. You can't come back over here anymore. Because these days, I hope more people will be advocating for protecting their children, talking to them about certain things. Whereas back in the day, I know I grew up and I didn't grow up like that. I saw a lot of things. A lot of things happened to me. And even though I was traumatized, taken advantage of, it kind of was weird because they always made it be like it was your fault. And I was like, how is this my fault? And I don't know about you all, but back in the day, if something happened to you as a girl, they used to be like you were fast. And you're like, I'm fast? How am I fast? How is this my fault that this person is a weird or a creep or doing things that they shouldn't? They're the adult. I'm the child, but it's how things were. And it wasn't a safe space for you to go to. It wasn't like what parents would be like, file charges, get that person arrested, or if it was a relative or an associate of the family, it wouldn't be like, we're not going over there because we don't do that and we protect our family. Whereas things now, I would hope more people, more parents, aunties, uncles, grandparents, community of people, even when it's not mine, even when I see a neighbor or something and I see something weird, the people that live around me, we're pretty cool. Like, do you see that person hanging around? And I'm like, yeah, that's weird. I don't like it. That makes me uncomfortable. And I don't like how now the new school neighbors, the younger ones, I shouldn't say millennials, but the younger generation, they come in, they come out, they don't greet you, they don't say hello, you don't know their name, you know nothing about them. And I get it. You know, you want to keep your business private, but what does it take to say hello? Like, neighbors are not neighborly. Kindness is not there. Support is not there. And it really makes me sad for the younger people. They'll never have what we had, even though I had no way a perfect childhood. But at least I knew who my neighbors were. So I think there's good and bad in everything. Good and bad in everything. Everything. There's good and there's bad. There's good and bad in everything. So I don't know. I don't know if I don't see a live from Realist One. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just going to copy the link and I'm gonna put it in here, and I'm gonna ask for you guys, please go over to Realist One channel, and if you're not subscribed to his channel, subscribe. Watch one of his shorts. Tell him Life with Marlene sent ya. I like to spread the love around. I like to spread love to those who support me. I never forget the people who support me. Yeah, I know Nolan's girl, and I have a whole testimony about that. I have to delete your comment because YouTube doesn't like that M word, you know. You have to say SM, you know, sexually, you know. You have to say it like that. I know you didn't mean to. I'm just following the guidelines. Queen Bee says, I have 3 adult daughters that I have raised. I always will be respectful to themselves and others. Yeah. And I found, like, these days, kids now aren't teaching their children to be respectful to adults. They're calling adults by their first names. It's just weird. It's weird to me. People are weird. People are controlling. People are, like, shut in. And have you seen like the younger generation, like they don't make eye contact with you when they're walking? They walk with their head down all the time. They have problems communicating how they feel.